Hey guys, so today is going to be another tech video for the truck. We have another piece of gear that we have been really excited about and been very happy with that we want to show you as a great addition to your kind of trailer setup. So let's get to it. So as I mentioned, today's video is about some truck tech. Now this was truck tech I was trying to get OEM, and when we bought our truck, we had to move pretty quickly because it was hard to find one, and we had lost 3 underneath us because we weren't putting deposits down fast enough. Anyway, so the truck we ended up with was a 2016 GMC Denali, and I absolutely love it. I'm a big fan. We've had relatively no problems with it, knock on wood, and overall we've just been thrilled with its performance and ability to get us from point A to point B, even with our 19,000 pound fifth wheel. So it's been a great truck. The only thing it really doesn't have from a tech standpoint is that payload camera, something that's looking into the bed of the truck, whether you're backing up or just an auxiliary camera. So really since then I've been trying to find a good solution, so when we're hitching up I can either see that pin, and when we're driving I can just see anything that's going on in that bed, because from the driver point of view the rearview mirror just doesn't get the right angle there, and towing it's just nice to have that extra point of view. So again, we're going to fast forward a bit. Now, a couple videos ago, we did a HaloView camera install and review. I'll link that here. And it's a great system. We've really enjoyed it. It has basically a big monitor that you set up on the dash, and it's got 3 cameras, 1 on the back and 2 on the side. It's been a really solid setup for us while we're towing. But again, it doesn't have that 4th view or that another view I wanted, which shows me the payload in the back. Also, driving a truck has been great. I've actually really enjoyed the experience, but the rearview mirror coming out the back, you get kind of lost with the kids in the back. We have a crew cab. You couldn't really see all that well out the back, and so putting a camera, I thought, right above the kind of those the lamp lights in the back would be a good thing to try. And so I reached out to HaloView and I was like, would you mind sending us one of these? I'd love to do a review for you. And we've been looking for this kind of solution. And so thank you to HaloView. They of course agreed, and they sent us this new system. So the system we got from HaloView is the MC10. It's designed for vehicles under 32 feet. If you have one longer than 32 feet and you're looking for the setup, they've got one too. I'll link that here. It's basically the same thing. You're just going to have a repeater. Actually, it's exactly the same repeater we have on our 5th wheel for that setup. I'll go into that in a second. But this is the MC10, and all it is a rearview mirror that's electronic and it's powered through the DC power of your truck. And then it is a remote camera that is wired for power only. So you don't have to wire the video feed, just give it power. Now, if your vehicle is longer than 32 feet, you basically are going to want to put a repeater on that camera that's going to move basically the signal that the camera is giving off closer to the receiver, closer to the rearview mirror. This would be really good if you're doing a longer motorhome, or you want this set up in your trailer and you like the rearview mirror concept and you don't want a secondary camera. You could totally do that too. You're just going to, depending on your length, you might need that repeater or not. And I'll leave links to everything in the blog post we have for this video below, so you'll be covered. Now, the install is really quite simple, and I didn't want to do an install video here as I don't feel I'm an expert in installing the equipment. But what we did at a quick overview is basically run a main power line from a main power source on the inside of the truck. I ran that through a floorboard, basically along a wire chassis that's already in the door frame, up inside the upholstery along the back, and then I drilled a hole in the back right above the glass, and I confirmed that there was no glass all the way through, and then that's where the wires come out or go in technically for the camera. So there's all the connections and stuff are inside the ceiling upholstery inside the truck. So that's kind of where that is. And then I just screwed in the camera, and everything has silicone around it so we won't get any water inside. Very similar to what you need to do for your 5th wheel install or your trailer or your RV install, is use silicone on all those screws. Exactly almost the same process we did for the 5th wheel install, and we just had to run a power wire, and again, it's all in the truck, so nothing was that far. Now, for the mount of the mirror, we did basically everything to spec. So you just kind of wrap the straps around the mirror, and then I did change the power wire here. Now, I'm going to leave an Amazon link to this particular product. What it comes with is a DC power cable that should be long enough for you to route around and up and through so you don't see the cable anywhere around your windshield. My problem is I don't have, my DC power ports are always on. I didn't want to mess with that because I like having them on for charging things sometimes when I don't want them to turn off the ignition. It helps on travel. I'm used to the setup, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And what I do know also too is our OBD2 port, if you plug that in for power specifically, that does come on and off with the ignition. So I went to Amazon and I got this product, and basically it is the same DC power port into the camera, and then it plugs into the OBD2 port on the car or the truck, and that's how it's getting power. So every time the truck turns on, basically the screen is turning on and getting power that way. And that's perfect. So it's not draining my battery when I'm not using it. The camera is not on and the screen's not on when the truck isn't on. And so far, over the last month, it's been a really, really solid solution for us. I'm very happy with that. But again, that is a different, you're gonna have to add that to Amazon. That does not come with the HaloView camera, but I do suggest it. If your OBD, or if your DC power, if your cigarette lighter ones, if they don't turn it on and off with the ignition. Now, in my vehicle, I have some that do and some that don't, but I've got a GPS always plugged in that is on that one, and all my other ports. It's complicated. Look at your setup, figure out what's going to work for you. This is a good alternative if you need that. I don't know how well that's going to come across on camera, but the attempt there will be that you can at least see how the camera is. I'm pretty sure you can't see anything with the lighting here. But this is kind of what our setup looks when we're not towing and when we have the camera on. So it looks almost like the rearview mirror. You really can't tell the difference. There is a power wire that's run here and run around. I'll show you more about that in a second. But that's it. It's a pretty seamless design. And the only thing you might be able to see from your point of view is that there's this little notch that comes out and then the screen starts, and that's the forward-facing camera. But this is a setup, and let's talk about some of the features. I'll get a little closer, but then let's talk about some of the features here. The reflections of this thing aren't bad in person, so I'm not sure why it's so hard to record on here. But let's talk about some of the features. So the first thing about this camera is it is a rear view mirror. The idea there is it replaces your rear view mirror. And as you can see, it's just literally strapped over my existing one. It's got rubber feet so it doesn't scratch the current one. And then it's got these big rubber straps that kind of strap around it and hold it in place. And it hasn't moved at all, even over very rough roads that knock all of my other mounts out of place. This thing hasn't moved. It has a power wire that comes across the top, and then you can see mounts right in here. And then this is the antenna that's going to the back camera. So the install on the inside is extremely easy and takes less than 2 minutes overall. The trick will just be for you to figure out what is the right power situation, again, which I already talked about. Another thing I kind of like about this is the rearview mirror doesn't have to be placed any particular way now. I can have it face me directly in the driver's seat. It doesn't have to be angled to hit the outside just right. I don't ever have to reposition it. I can just have it face me directly, and it really doesn't matter. So it's just kind of, it's an interesting thing that you don't have to worry about aiming in any particular direction anymore. Okay, so now I do have two complaints. One is temporary. The first is the area of focus changes. And this is something that's bothered me with other devices. Like if I put the GPS too close to my face, I have this problem. I will be looking on the road, I'll be looking all the way down, and my focus point is really quite far away, a couple hundred feet. Then for me to look in the rearview mirror beforehand, I was looking a couple hundred feet, at least 100 feet or so behind me, and so my focal point of my eyes, like they didn't have to change much. Now my focal point is 2 feet away. So I'm going from a couple hundred feet in front of me to 2 feet in front of me. Your eyes have to pretty quickly adjust back and forth. I don't have contacts. I don't wear glasses. I've never had any eye issues. So, you know, I don't know how that will change for other people. That's just my point of reference. Is in the beginning, it was strange for me to, and I didn't think that was going to be an issue. I never even thought about that before. But I have noticed also, like if I put the GPS in a really close location, I don't enjoy having my focus change so quickly, so often, just to check certain things. So that's why I always have GPS and dashes as far away from me as possible. It's not that I'm nearsighted, it's not that I'm farsighted, it's that change of focus that it's like a motion sickness thing, maybe, possibly, and this could just be me, so maybe I'm weird. Maybe is this better? The second thing is the transition at nighttime. This seems to struggle at that dusk hour. There's two settings that change. One is the dimness of the screen, and the second is the conversion to like a night mode. When it's going from day to night and you're in that dusk time frame, the screen has a hard time picking if it should be in nighttime mode or day mode. So if it starts in day mode, it will dim the screen, which is what it should do, and then the camera has a hard time figuring out if it should be in night mode or in color mode. It goes in between like that RF night vision. It works really well, but it has a hard time settling in. So we see it like transition a couple of different times at night before it settles into the night mode in the dim setting on the screen. So the screen has a hard time deciding if it should be bright or dim, and then the camera separately seems to have a hard time deciding if it should be in night mode or not. And I just wish I could lock in like when it changes or the threshold it should changes. I can't seem to find a setting on that. So I'll work with HaloView and I'll post an update here or below if we've found a good solution there. But that seems to be the kind of the only really complaint I've got about that. Everything else has been seamless with this system. Now let's go into the back and I'll show you the actual camera and how we have that mounted. I don't really have a good sidestep on this thing yet. Ugh. Maybe that's another thing that needs to go on the list. Okay, so here we are. So there's the camera. Like I said, it is mounted just above the window, and there's actually nothing behind this piece of plastic. At least on the 2016 models. I don't know if they ever updated that, so definitely check. But there was nothing behind it, and so it was easy to mount. There's a bunch of cable. There's one cable that comes from behind the camera, and we've just basically pushed that through, and the top of the headliner is right behind here. And so all the connections, basically for the positive and negative, are right behind it. Now the camera itself can be adjusted up and down. And that seems very solid too. That doesn't ever jiggle or wiggle loose. And that's kind of it. Now you could have this antenna facing whichever way you want. You can put it up, you can put it down. I have it down. I think that just doesn't go through as much headliner and wires. Kind of looks sad that way though. So maybe up. Maybe up is better. Does that look like a happier camera? Now, one thing I forgot to talk about actually was some of the features of the actual screen. Now, there's lots of different options. You can do a couple different things. You can view both cameras at the same time. You can view just forward-facing. Not quite sure why. You can view just rearward-facing. That makes a lot more sense. That's what we have it on all the time. And then you can do picture-in-picture. So you can have a big view of the rear view with a small one of the forward, vice versa. Lots of different, like every configuration I think that could be possible is there. And it's pretty easy to go in between. You just tap and it changes, or swipe depending on which way you want to go. I have to say that interface is done well, and the touchiness is the right amount, not too touchy, but it works well at the same time. Okay, so let's do a quick review of some of the tactical kind of hardware features, and then we'll do some software features too. So the frontward-facing camera, because it is a dash cam, so it's got a forward-facing and a rear-facing view. The forward-facing camera is 140 degrees viewpoint, so you can see from side of the dash windshield to the other. And the rear-facing camera is 120, so it's more or less the same. The frontward-facing camera is 180p, so you're in full HD there. And the back does 720p, so almost HD. I think technically that's still HD, and definitely a good picture. Good enough here. You can see some footage here of what that looks like versus the frontward-facing one. Now, from a interface standpoint, they are using 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. That's a really solid connection. It's very quick, so it's almost real time. There's a little bit of a lag I've noticed in the rear view camera, not much. It's actually much less than I have in the fifth wheel cameras. That I've noticed is almost like half a second to a second behind. This is basically in real time, and so that's been really nice. And you have that infrared view at night on the rear-facing camera. So you can very clearly see at night in like that black and white image. And that does work quite well. Now, as I've said earlier, I've had a hard time recording the physical screen, what that looks like in real life. I've put in a couple clips. It looks pretty good. So you have that IPS screen, and so it's a pretty high-def screen. I have no complaints about that resolution. That looks great. But from a gloss standpoint, it just makes it really hard to record. I don't have any issues seeing it. I have no issues with glare in real life, but on the camera, man, it's picking up every little bit of light it can and making that hard to record. But it does look really good in person. And then finally, this unit comes with a 32 gigabyte on-site storage. So it is storing and then looping your storage, so you never have to delete anything. It's just going to always keep the newest files. And a 32 gigabyte card, basically a micro SD card, comes included. Now you can buy a bigger one. I put in 128 gigs just to give me a longer time I can record. I'll link the SIM card I've used below. Very easy to format. You just go into the format menu, format the card when you get the one you want, and you're ready to go. All right, so now we are done with all the specs. You have seen it. You've gotten kind of the overview. Now let's take it out for a drive. We'll show you just daily driving, what it looks like. We'll show you hooking up, and you can kind of make the rest of your conclusions, hopefully through the footage you see here. Now, overall, I think the camera's doing a pretty good job. You've got a great view in the front. You can see side to side from that front-facing camera. And the rear-view camera, too, has a really good angles. You can see when towing exactly what's happening in the back of the truck. And then when not towing, you've got that great angle that's just side to side over the truck bed, and you can see everything that's happening behind you. So it's been a really good addition, and I'm really excited about this piece of technology. I'm definitely going to keep it around, and I'm going to use it every single week and every single day and every single time I'm driving. So I think it's a really good product, and I'm really excited that we've done this. Now, if you're looking for this camera or anything else from HaloView, we have links in our blog post, which is linked below. So feel free to go there and check out more details if you'd like to. And that's it, guys, for this video. We'll see you next time. Bye. It's just not gonna...